access to the story in hand that no one else has, then you also have some kind of value in the industry. Because TV channels are only as good as the content that they can broadcast. And if you really want to get a head start or any kind of start in the industry, it's about having something with you in your backpack. If you're emailing TV stations or production companies after your graduation and you just say, hey, I'm interested in making films, I've studied this, sorry, they're all going to say, okay, cool, but so do 50 other people that email us every day. But if you can actually approach them with some kind of idea and a product in mind, then you're interesting as a potential teammate, as a potential employee, potential client. Because if you approach a TV station with an idea, well, then at least they have something to work with. If you approach a production company with something, with an idea and with a story, then they know how to place you. And don't be afraid to start small. Even if you do come to the table with a great idea, you still might be at the very, very, very bottom of the what do you call it? Of the ladder, which is fine. There is no pride in filmmaking.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, just if you have an idea, you have to go and do it, and maybe it will work. Does anybody has a question for Kat? Now is your chance to do it. Come on.
Me? Yeah?
Yes, Michelle, thank you.
Okay, my name is Michelle, and nice to meet you. And I really wonder how you find this inspiration for tell a story, a good story, to tell the people.
Yeah. How do I find inspiration to tell a story? Yeah, that's a good question. I think, I mean, in terms of the film that I did make before, it's always these very, very short moments in real life where I go, what? Oh my God, that cannot be real. So with the first film I made a couple of years ago, I was in an arena of people. And Rachel, I'm going to send you the link to the film afterwards on YouTube, so you can share it with your students later.
Right,
but I was in the middle of a crowd of people, and they were all looking into this field, this arena, and in the arena were a bunch of cows. So like cows that you milk. And these cows were fighting each other, and hundreds of people were watching. And I could not believe my eyes because, you know, cockfighting and dogfighting is illegal, but here you have hundreds of people enjoying this really violent spectacle of looking at these cows. Okay, so next to these cows was a very young girl. She's 16 years old, and I was like, what is she doing amongst all these old men looking at these cows? And then I approached her, and I find out one of these cows is her cow. And I was like, this is too strange to be real. And that's where my inspiration got from. It was a very small, it was an afternoon where I just witnessed something that I thought was so alien to my reality that if I tell it to you, 20 people in Mexico, I mean, you wouldn't believe it either. And that's when I decided this could be a really cool film. This could be a really interesting story when people, you know, because truth is always stranger than fiction. You know, someone who writes fiction would never be able to come up with the absolute absurd sceneries like you find in reality. And I think that's where I take my inspiration. It's just going around and being very, very curious about life, curious about what other people get up to, and maybe also a little bit, challenging your surroundings. And that's when I say, and how would that look like in a frame? You know, how does life look like if you put it in front of a camera and you give it an edit? How can you tell a story from something so absurd that still moves people? Yeah, I think that's where I take my inspiration. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, thank you.
That is really nice. I mean, to being curious, that's something I tell my students sometimes when we are in class, that they have to be really observers. Actually, we had an exercise when they have to they have to write down the things that they see or hear maybe, and that may be in some point to be a story. Yeah, so we have to be observers if we want to make stories. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Kat. Someone else, do you have another question, please?
Oh, there's one in chat. What is the reality of being a woman in this industry, and how does it compare to other industries? Should I just pick this up, Rachel? Yeah. I think being a woman has its pros and its cons. So it has its positives and its negatives. I think being a woman makes it easier for me to get into certain situations and weird, absurd scenes. I think if I was a big, tall man with a large beard and I wanted to make a film about young girls somewhere who are in a girl gang or whatever, they probably wouldn't let me in. That doesn't mean that tall men can't make good films. That's all I'm saying. I think being a woman is, compared to other industries, it's a difficult one. It definitely also has its challenges, because if I were a woman, I am a woman, but if I were to make a film about, I don't know, armed robbers in Italy or whatever, then maybe I would put myself in certain dangerous situations. I mean, there's this very famous case in Sweden or in Denmark, where I'm originally from, where a young journalist woman was killed because she found a very absurd situation inside of a submarine. Maybe you've heard of it, Kim Wall. And she ended up being killed by this guy and thrown into the ocean. So, you know, it has its dangers too. If you're a lonely woman looking for a good story to tell, you put yourself in crazy situations. But definitely it can also be a help because people trust you. They're not afraid of you. Also, one thing I noticed is that many producers, and at the moment I am a junior producer, many producers are women. I don't know why. I can't tell you why. I just noticed that the difference is that there are more directors that are men and more producers that are women, especially in documentary. Maybe it's because women are better organized. I don't know. I have no idea why that is. But I think it definitely has its upsides and its downsides, because how you can gain people's trust, you also put yourself out there into harm's way a little bit sometimes. And I hope you're all being mindful of that when you do go out and look for your stories. Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, Rebecca. Thank you for asking that.
Thank you, Rebe. Someone else?
Yes, I want to ask a question. Your previous documentaries, what topics you worked with, and going ahead, it will be same topic, or are you going into a different direction with your personal documentaries?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I started with a documentary where I felt it mirrored a lot my own life. So this girl and her cow. And I